Welcome back to another episode of Eating Global. Today, we're going to South Korea, one of my favorite food destinations of all time. The most favorite things I make, the most favorite things I eat, some of the best, I don't know. The country is phenomenal, South Korea. If you get a chance to go, please go and eat everything. You can walk into any vendor, any store, any restaurant, and eat anything, and it's just fabulous. It's gonna change your life every time you eat. Today, we're making something called DakGalbi. Now, I don't know a whole lot about the origin of the dish, but I do know that it is made with chicken and rice cakes and cabbage, green onions, garlic, and gochujang. It's spicy. This is a spicy dish. I'm not going to make it like melt your face off, but I want it to be aromatic. Now, dak, D-A-K, is chicken. So we have chicken. Galbi is ribs. That's where I don't know why you don't want to eat chicken ribs. I'm using chicken breast. So that's the deal. If somebody's out there, smoking a little rack of chicken ribs, good on you. But that's not what we're doing here tonight. So anyway, we're going to get started. Now, this is a stir-fry dish. As always on this channel, we try to make things that are accessible for, like, come home from work, make dinner, except exotic, right? So this is going to be made in a wok. I've got my beautiful cast iron. This thing is just a magical little device. It's a cast iron wok, and it's kind of a lightweight cast iron, I think they call it. But it's just wonderful for making these kind of stir-fry dishes. So anyway, we're gonna start with onions, of course. It's kind of funny because almost everything starts with onions. They're just a quintessential part of life, aren't they? Onions, and of course, just load this sucker up with garlic. Now, interestingly, this dish also has rice cakes in it. If you're not familiar with rice cakes, they come in a lot of different shapes, and it's a rice starch that is basically made into a little cakey type thing. And they come usually frozen in a bag like this. It's just literally called sliced rice cake, and sometimes they're round or tubular or in this case, little wedges. And they go in so many things. Tteokbokki, for example, that's another dish we'll make on here, a wonderful spicy dish. Duck manduguk, which duck, this is duck, not to be confused with chicken dak, this is duck D-U-K. Not also to be confused with the little aquatic animal, the duck, D-U-C-K. Different things, even though I love Peking duck, no duck here. So this is a vegetable heavy dish, at least the way I make it. I love cabbage and stir fry. It's just one of those, I don't know, it's a textural thing, it's a taste thing. It absorbs any flavor you put on it, basically. So I use lots of cabbage in it, and it does cook down. So I've got 3 of the little Napa cabbages, or Chinese cabbages, and I don't like the big ones so much because they're a little bit more stringy and a little bit more kind of grainy, if you will. So these little baby ones are just delicious. So we're gonna cut those up. We're gonna cut our green onions up. We're gonna add the green onions sort of in later because we want them to be pretty and presentable and have that nice green color. And the more you cook them, the more the flavor breaks down. So we're gonna add those in late in the cooking process. We're of course going to start with our onions in the wok and get them going. And we'll add our garlic in later because, as I always say, garlic is sensitive and it gets its feelings hurt very easily. So we want to make sure to treat it with the most delicate respect. All right, another mention about the rice cake. They have to be soaked. So I did soak these for about an hour just to kind of get some of the starch off of them because, like rice, they're very starchy. Well, they are made of rice. So we get rid of some of that rice starch and we soften it up just a little bit so it's really easy to cook. Now, these will cook down in just a couple minutes. So we'll put that in, again, late in the process when it's all nice and liquidy and juicy so they can cook in there. But we'll put that in last. I'll show you how they go quick. A couple other things. We've got our sesame oil. That's a quintessential foundation for much of Korean cooking. This one is also a little unique because we've got the curry powder in there. So this is a very diverse tasting flavor. It's got a lot of complexity to it, if you will. Salt. We have to have salt. We have to have sugar, lots of sugar in Korean cooking. Again, if you're looking for the healthy thing, not so much this. But I will say chicken is healthy and cabbage is healthy. The things that make it spicy are going to be our gochu pepper. That's a chili, it's a kind of chili, and it's made into little flakes. These are not only delicious, but they add a really cool look to any dish that you're putting them in. And of course, gochujang. Now this is a really pasty, heavy, fermented gochu pepper paste. It's delicious. It's got wheat, corn flour, hot pepper, powder, salt, distilled alcohol, wheat barley, soybean powder, soybeans, wheat. So it's, again, complex flavor. It just rams wonderfulness into a dish. It's got that lovely, like, fermented umami taste, and it's, of course, pretty spicy. So that is a very versatile thing as well. Again, called gochujang hot pepper paste. Gochujang. You have to have that in your fridge if you're going to cook a Korean meals. I'm going to cut up our onions. Now you can cut your onions to put in a stir fry however you want. You can make them small, large, cubed. I like mine a little, again, toothsome. Just cut them in little, they end up like this. That's way, in this stir fry dish, we know there's onions in there. They don't disappear. They stay hearty and textural, if you will. So for this dish, because it's a vegetable forward dish, we're going to put 2 medium-sized sweet onions in it. All right. Now, the larger we cut our onions, the longer they take to cook down. So we're going to go ahead and start those. And we're going to start with a little bit of sesame oil in there as well. Now, I've got the pan hot, and of course, it is glazed with its nice seasoned oil. But we're still, just for flavors purposes, going to put the sesame oil in there. A note about sesame oil. It's not a cooking oil. It doesn't take well to heat, so it will burn very quickly, and it will turn a really bad flavor. So this is a flavoring oil, not a cooking oil. So be careful with your sesame oil. All right, we're gonna get a little flipper flapper here, and we're gonna go ahead and put the onions in. I put the onions in first before I put the sesame oil in, just so the sesame oil doesn't hit the hot pan and then just go nuts. So it has something to kind of absorb into. Now in goes about 2 tablespoons for 2 medium onions. With stir fries, we want to start onions first, because we want all the vegetables to be tender, of course, but we don't want to burn the delicate ones or make them just disappear. So onions, they're gonna stay hearty for the whole time. So don't be real scared about overcooking the onions, especially if you do it on a respectable heat. Now, if you turn it up to, like, just bonfire, it's gonna cook the onions too much. So keep it low, keep it slow, and then later we'll turn the heat up and really get it stir fried. But low and slow to start with the onions to get them nice and sweated down. All right, we're gonna leave those to be happy for a moment. While that's going, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up our other vegetables and get them in in a bowl here. With these little cabbages, I do take off some of the top portion of it here. Some of that kind of like really leafy, stringy green stuff. We don't need that in that dish. If you want to add it in there, great. But what I do suggest is at least take off if you have some of that outer browning, type of leaves and kind of like wilty, sad, like meh leaf on there, just take that off because it's slimy and you don't want it. Okay, so to cut these little cabbages, just cut the bottom off here. That part, nobody needs that. And then I just cut them at about 1 inch. These will cook down quite a lot. So if it looks like a lot to begin with. Now this is also according to how many people you want to serve. So this, what I'm making, will serve about 3 to 4 or 2 very, very hungry people. I'll go ahead and get the chicken cut. Now we make sure not to cross-contaminate here. This cutting board has now become not a vegetable cutting board because we put chicken on it. The reason I'm going to go ahead and cut the chicken is because I got to get it in the wok over there. Now chicken, I'm just going to cut in about inch cubes. You could also shred the chicken for this, or you could make it into little triangles, or rectangles, or circles, or anything you want, because it's your dish and you make it the way you want. But of course, the smaller you cut them, the quicker they go in cooking. And typically with stir fries, we want it to go pretty hot and quick. I'm going to stir these a little bit here. Remember, season at every step. We're going to salt the onions here. Well, all right. All right, our chicken is ready to go in now. Now remember, we season early and often. So far, we've got 2 very large chicken breasts in here and 2 medium-sized sweet onions. This is where I'm going to turn the heat up just a little bit, about to medium. Now, if you are cooking in like a stainless steel or something that's just a little thinner metal that doesn't conduct heat so well, you might have to go up a little hotter. But in cast iron, which by the way, cast iron is the traditional way this dish is cooked. It's actually cooked at the table usually in a cast iron skillet. It's kind of a show food, if you will. There's also another component to it that a lot of people like to eat with it, or it's kind of traditional to eat with it, is a fried rice dish that is sometimes incorporated with that meal. But it's after work, it's late in the evening, we're starving. We're not going to make the fried rice component, although I'm going to have regular white rice with it, of course, and kimchi. All right. So here is where we put more sesame oil in. Now, sesame oil is probably 2 more tablespoons of this. Again, it's a flavoring, not a cooking oil. We're also going to hit it with our first round of soy sauce. That first round is going to be pretty generous of the soy sauce. We're of course going to hit it with black pepper. What a surprise, what a theme. Black pepper and everything. Again, ground fresh, not already ground. Huge difference, huge difference. We're going to go in for another round of salt. There's no reason to be afraid of salt, sugar, or pepper. Once you start tasting it and you start knowing how to use it, it's a changer. It's a game changer. So here comes the every video what I say. We must taste our food. So we're going to wait till this chicken gets done, and then we're going to start our tasting process. So if you taste along the way, you never have to worry about over salting or over anything in your food. We're also going to go ahead and hit it with our first round of sugar. Now, sugar goes in most Korean cooking, and quite a lot of it. All right, while that's going, I'm going to go over here and get my garlic ready, get the cabbage ready, and get my green onions ready. All right, we've gotten rid of the knife and the cutting board and everything that touched the chicken. So we're completely clear of that so we don't have any cross-contamination. Also, speaking of the health part of our meal, do rinse your cabbage. Rinse all your vegetables. Just run them under the sink or soak them or do something, just because there might be some sort of schmutz on it from the store, from the shipping process. We don't know, we don't want to think about it too much because that'll just make your head pop off. But just do rinse it. It makes you feel a little better. All right, with green onions, I take these very bottom pieces off. You don't want that in there. And I take the little weird tops off of them. If anything's getting brown, just take that off. Green onions are so hard because they only last for such a short amount of time. And I love them so much. All right, in this dish, we want to keep these green onions fairly big, because that way they are there to present. They make it pretty, they make it a presentable, beautiful dish. They add that great color, and of course they add great flavor. The bottom here, these little rooty parts, we'll just cut those up real small, because we'll extract some flavor out of those. You want to keep this moving over here just to make sure nothing's burning, nothing's going crazy. Looks good. Now at this point, like I said, I've jacked the heat up to about a medium high. We want to cook it nice and hot to get some texture on it. All right, on this one, I use my garlic press a lot, but I like to, in these stir fries, make my garlic, you can see it. So I'm going to take the knife there, just crush it down, and the little peel comes off of it real nice and easy. So we're going to load this sucker up with garlic here. We are going to add it in late in the cooking process, though, because that's how I like my garlic, kind of not really sautéed, but fragrant. All right, we're going to throw this in here. Good. This is looking really good. So our chicken is just about basically, it's cooked. Got our garlic in there. I think I am going to go ahead and add these 2 extra cloves. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and run these 3 through the garlic press, because the smaller they are, the more flavor they get in there. Yeah. Beautiful. This is what we're looking at so far. Kind of got some juice going in there. That's what we want, because that's what we want to cook the cabbage in. So here's where I'm going to add the curry powder in. Now, the Korean world of cooking doesn't use a whole lot of curry. That's more in the Orient, it's more in the Japanese, Thai, but Koreans do use it some. We will also add the gochujang. If you can see, it's a very sticky, almost solid paste. Make sure to get it all off the spoon there. It does take a while for that to incorporate in. This is gochujang in its purest form. You can buy it kind of in a sauce form, and it has like sugar and sesame oil and all kinds of delicious goodies with it. And I make that as well. That would go on like bibimbap or bibimbap and stuff like that. I almost said bibimbap, which is a restaurant that has like fake Korean bibimbap, which I will make at some point. I'm not saying bibimbap is bad. It's a good place, a good option. But it's not exactly authentic. Anyway, okay, so look at this. I'm going to turn the heat down. Look at that beautifulness. Look at how that's colored. Oh, man. Okay. This is where we can start the tasting process, because our chicken is cooked. Oh, oh, mm, oh, 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 oh my God. Okay, we're gonna go ahead at this stage and get our cabbage in there so it can start cooking down. I'm going to hit this with just a wee bit of water to give it some more sauciness. And now we're going to put a little of the goju flakes in there, and that's going to go on the lettuce. I keep saying lettuce, it's cabbage. 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 You're not going to believe it, but we're going to now season the cabbage here. So now the sauce that we made earlier, yeah, it's going to flavor it, but we have to be able to layer. We're just building up that flavor. So it really, that cabbage is going to absorb so much of it that we want to keep the flavor to the level of what I just tasted, which was amazing. And we don't want to ruin that. So we got to keep going with a little bit of this stuff here. All right, I'm going to taste the cabbage here. Yep. I'm going to taste the chicken again. Okay. We're going to run in here with just a little bit more sugar because the cabbage just took in all that sweetness that we had in there. We're going to hit it with just a little bit more, basically, of all the ingredients that we put in earlier. Little more soy sauce. Little more pepper. Now I've added just a little bit more cabbage in here to make sure, well, I've kept some of the cabbage aside here, I'll show you, because we want to have some nice crunchy cabbage in there left when we eat it. So the stuff that's cooking down, we'll have sort of a layered, we'll have a little bit of really nice and cooked down cabbage that has the flavor really crazy in there, and we'll have a little bit of crunch to it as well with the newer added cabbage that comes in later. See, we've got this liquid down in here. It's kind of still juicy. So we're going to take this and turn it into kind of the real gravy that makes this all just unbelievable, okay? So it's going to stick. It's going to become thicker. That, we turn up the heat to high. That's where this is going to really become incorporated. Before we get all of our liquid to disappear, I am going to add our rice cakes in there so they have something to cook in. Like I said, this happens in the last few minutes of cooking, so we're almost there. These rice cakes are going to go real quick. Now these rice cakes are super flavor absorbing, so they're also going to just soak up this liquid and just hold it and deliver it in a beautiful vehicle of delivery of royal proportions, delivering our flavor like a king to your mouth. And for our final couple minutes here, we'll put in the remaining cabbage. I do have the heat on high, so this is where we're really stir frying here. We got to keep it moving, because if you let it just sit there, it's gonna burn really quickly. So keep it moving. But not only does it keep it from burning, but it makes sure to cover every surface with our delicious flavor. We're going to do a little taste test here just to make sure our rice cakes are done. Yep, they are. Okay, that's it. See how that liquid has kind of disappeared? Yeah. Now, believe it or not, I like to add my green onion into dishes like this basically when it's done cooking. I do stir it around a little bit, but we want to keep them toothsome, and we also want to make sure they are still nice and green. Even if you cook green onions for like just a few minutes on high, they disappear. So just put them in last minute. We don't need the flavor from the green onion to meld into it really, because we've already got onion, we've already got our flavor built, but it is going to deliver a flavor and a crunch during the eating process there that is amazing. All right, now we're all set here. Isn't it lovely? Oh yes. All right. This is what we got here going on. It just looks amazing and smells amazing. All right. So we're going to dish this up here. All right, so there's what our presentation is on the plate. Lovely. We're going to throw it with some rice, of course. What Korean dish wouldn't be good served without banchan? Now, banchan is basically appetizers in Korean. And it's little things that you'll see a lot of times at Korean restaurants, especially your higher end Korean restaurants. They'll bring out these little dishes of delicious goodies. There's thousands of them, and I make thousands of kinds of them. I could do a whole episode on just banchan. But anyway, tonight I've got burdock root pickled, daikon radish pickled, and kappa pickles pickled. And of course, the most important, the most wonderful, magical thing in all of Korean history, kimchi. Now, kimchi, I could do a whole episode on just kimchi, but I do make kimchi, but I also buy it. There's three main brands. If you're going to go out to the Korean markets and buy kimchi, there's 1000 Year Foods. They just built a brand new factory in Chicago. There is 80 Million Kimchi, which is another brand, really good stuff. And then there's Korea Kimchi, really good stuff. So if you can find any of these are the top kimchis I've ever been able to find. Anyway, with all that being said, enjoy your DakGalbi. And I will see you somewhere around the world here on Eating Global. Take care.